you're doing any kind of gameplay mechanic, do a first pass animation, skate it in, and then plan to throw it all away. You have to budget that. God of War has got some pretty good animations. They actually went through 3 sets completely, start to finish, 3 times. So it's really important to just make your set and chase the fun. Get the touch and get the response. Your designers are going to be changing time, scale, and you're going to break these animations. And only once you've got these mechanics that are working really well, then you go and back and put your animations to it to make it fun. I don't know, that's slide 13 that came up there. So I want to talk about something called perfectly imperfect, and that's the irony, I think, to make things look better, you have to make them look worse. And that seems strange at first. So who's this guy? This is Fermi. He's a famous physicist, did some really amazing things. One of his, you would think it's a bit strange that he's got a lot in common with this guy, James Hetfield, or this guy. What do these guys all have in common? And what they do is they have an appetite for the non-linear. And what I mean by that is, here's Fermi distribution function, and it dictates, you see these curves, and these are really beautiful curves. They actually sound nice too. This is the slope curves for color film. So when they made film back in the day, some of you may remember film. It seems like it's gone now. But the people that are doing it are trying to make a linear response curve, but chemically, and it's impossible. So you can see these curves. Your highs compress, and your blacks compress, and you get this nonlinear response. And we've grown up thinking that this is pretty. This is we like this. So he shoots film. He still shoots film. He only shoots digital when he has to. Now there's a lot of digital emulations of these curves. You can synthesize the stuff reasonably easily. But the point is that curve looks nice. What's interesting is you move over to audio tape, old analog reel-to-reel audio tape, and that's a response curve for audio tape. Eerily similar. Why? I'm not sure. But it's enough that James Hetfield recorded the Black Album, and he did all the drums on 2-inch tape. He could use anything he wanted. He chose old school analog to record the drums because that compression sounds nice. So that's interesting. So okay, well, what do you do with this information? Well, let's use it. So the problem with CG is it's so perfect, and what we need to do is we need to put back the stuff that lens makers and people building film have been trying to take out. They've been trying to get rid of all this stuff. CG doesn't have it, but in order for people to look at the final frame and go, that's pretty or nice, we've got to put that junk back in. So it's this sort of cool analog irony of our medium. So what stuff we can do? We can put in film grain. That's often overused, but a little bit's really nice. Tone mapping or lookup tables, I'm really fond of these. And what that does is you can filter your frame buffer and then compress, and you can take those film slope curves and you can actually do that to your final frame buffer. You can get some contrast back. You can start to clip your highlights. You can start to crush your blacks. Play with your gamma curves. They're there. You got them on hardware. People ignore them. It's crazy. You can get some beautiful stuff. You can even think about dynamically changing your gamma curves to suit game mechanics. So I'll let you imagine anything but wild about them. Blooms are the ones doing it. I think they're sort of a candidate for this generation's lens flare. 91, we've had lens flare and everything. People are going crazy with bloom, but it's real. Lens is flare. If you don't have it, and you've got something super bright, it's just something super dark, and you don't have a little bit of bloom. That just doesn't happen in reality. I think it's just funny. Lens makers wish they could have what we can do in CG, but we're putting it back. So the way I have to think of it is you sort of take your graphics and you take your frame buffer and you put it through a tube amp. Tube amps sound nice. And you got a CD player, and if any of you guys are into hi-fi, maybe you've sort of dabbled or listened to old school tube amps, and there's sort of an analog warmth to it. It adds harmonic distortion, and it's actually not pure, but it sounds nice. So apply this sort of philosophy to your frame buffer. So here's an onslaught of tips and tricks. It's a really nice slide. So this is just a little setup. This is from last milestone. We're about 8 months out. I can just show you little bits and pieces. These are just shots from our environment. 20 million polygons, lots of shaders, materials. This actually hurts for us to watch a little bit right now because it's gotten a lot better since then. Yeah, it's about 2 kilometers by 4 kilometers inside. a pretty big world. I've never worked on anything so big, even remotely close to as big as what this is. So my biggest, if I can impart only one thing to you guys today, and that's to tune all your art on target. This is just critical. Don't try to make Max or XSI look like your game, because it won't. It can't. You'll never keep it current anyway. As soon as you put like this, you know, the analog stuff I was talking about in the frame buffer, where you can do that in your 3D package too. Like, it's just duplication. The signal chain is just way too similar. You get this false sense, like, oh, it looks good, you know, Max, but then in game, in context with everything, it looks different. You just need to tune everything in context. So, you know, you get your GPU, that's different than your video card, not as much perhaps. And then you got your onboard gamma, which you might be tweaking, and I suggest you do. And then it goes through these cables, which you don't have on your computer, and then it goes in the back of your TV. And that's just an entirely unique signal chain, and you need to tune to that. So what do I mean by that? Well, how about fly through the world and identify material? This is all real time, this is on the Xbox. Just put a little specular in on the material, let's change the size. I'm tuning this on the computer, but this is happening real time in the game. We want a little bit more contrast in the specular. And Kirk and I spent 2 complete days, 3 days ago, we were a little bit tired, going through our entire world and identifying things and tuning those shaders real time. It was a lot of work to get that system up and ready so we can do that, but that's how you get greatness, because everything's in context. Example character, so okay, let's bring diffuse up a little bit, let's play the specular size, put a little bit of directional lighting in, change the eccentricity of the material. Okay, we need a bit of room lighting, so let's start to throw that in if that's too much. And this is just a guy somewhere in the world, so we're just tuning all this stuff on the fly. And okay, you know, to get the ballpark. So if you're putting your shader settings into your models, and then in order to see them, you got to hit export and go into the game. Like, how many iterations are you actually going to do? Like, it's such a pain in the ass to do it that way. So what do you expect your artist to, like, tune it, export it, go through the whole bunch processing, game, oh, the specular's too hot. Like, you know, they might get 2 or 3 of those before they go insane. So just move all that and make your game the tool and tune it there. Everybody seems to be going crazy about normal maps, and I love them, but you have to think about what they cost. So here's a question: how many enviro polygons use the same amount of memory as a 512 texture map? This isn't a character case, this is an environment case. So just think about that. How many polys for one 512 normal map? You know, 200, 350, 700. Is it as many as 1,000 polys? Would you rather have 1,000 polys or 512 map? 1,500? So it's about 2,400. You might actually be able to get that better. This is using a render numbers down. Slice and dice and chops and grinds. So what I mean by that, you get 3 votes per vertex, 1 for normal, 2 for the UV channels. This is a 2 UV channel model, so you can have like layer textures. It's about 36 bytes per vert. You can do the math. You might be doing indexing, which is even more efficient than what I said here. So that's 2,400 polys or 512 normal. Think about that. Your poly doing can do better silhouette. I'm not saying don't do normal maps. I'm just saying watch your junior artists. 130K, that's a lot of memory. When they take their, 500 poly guide and they put their amazing 2K texture on it, it's like the ratio backwards. It's crazy. Downsize your textures up your geo, or just consider it, balance it. So don't put giant textures on low poly objects. The hardware doesn't like it, and it doesn't look as good as doing it with it. Number 3, a review room. So this is a review room in Pandemic. We put this in this year, and we've got HD and regular TVs. We've got LCD, and we've got 2, old school CRT. And we'll put the game in, and we'll look at it, and we'll go, wow, zooms are great. We missed those. LCDs are terrible. Look at the one at the top left. That was like a $400 cheat. Grandma's going to buy that for their kid, not calibrate it, put it down, and that's what your blacks are going to do. So it's really important to have a review room so you can actually see all this stuff and compare. And we've calibrated some of these, and we haven't calibrated some on purpose. Well, if you have that, then why not get a vector scope? And this is a really important thing too. So we've got an Apple Power Mac thing that's on the floor, and we use Final Cut. Final Cut's got a spectroscope software in it. And what it does is it lets you see your signals coming in. So we're going to tune our game. We use the a lot too. You can see what your hots are doing, what your blacks are, what your signal levels, and you go back and forth between PS2, PS3, and 360. Because